Hi everyone, my name is Prom and I'm the social media manager here at Peach Payments. We have something really exciting planned for you today. At Peach Payments, we want to offer our customers the best possible payments experience so that their business can thrive. In order for us to do that, we want to assist you with helpful tips to get you on your way. No confusing jargon here, just simple to understand information which you can use right now. Let's get underway. Today, I'm chatting with Nadine Martin from Peach Payments. Hi, Nadine. Can you tell us a bit more about what you do here at Peach?
Yes, sure. Hi, Prom. So I am the operations manager at Peach Payments. I head up the team that looks at onboarding our merchants, making sure that they get the accounts that they're looking for. We also look at supporting merchants with day-to-day maintenance or queries that they may have, any integration issues, and then we also look at risk support.
Cool. Thanks for that. The current situation has meant that many SMEs have moved online and started e-commerce stores. Those businesses that were already online have also had to adapt to this new trading environment. What do you think are the three most important steps for starting a business or running an online business?
So I think firstly would be the importance of superior customer service. So you want to build brand loyalty. Next would possibly be world-class security. So you need to have your customers trust. They're making purchases, they're giving you their money, they're using this online service. So world-class security would be second. And then a seamless customer experience. So if everything goes well, you're going to be able to convert those sales quickly. So if your customer knows what they're buying, they're able to work through that payment process and get their goods, then they're happy.
Thank you so much. I really do think, it's very important to always be cautious when shopping online. And one of the other issues that businesses face in the online space is the matter of chargebacks. Can you just take it a bit further and explain what a chargeback is and what all businesses need to know about processing them?
So card not present fraud is probably one of the highest numbers in terms of contributors from fraud in the last few years. And that is obviously as a result of people shifting to more online purchasing. So when we talk about card not present, the physical transaction is taking place between a merchant and a cardholder that sort of aren't seeing each other face to face. So cardholders often don't know the impact of a chargeback on a business. Potentially when they go into a bank and they do a chargeback, it can actually count negatively against the business, and it can almost be seen as potentially being seen as fraud against the business, and over a period of time it can actually have quite a negative impact on the business. So what's also difficult is how you manage that as a business, because you don't necessarily, it's rather complex. You can't necessarily stop a cardholder from going into a bank. So to talk a little bit about a chargeback, I think that's important. Let me share with you what happens. So a cardholder would potentially go into a bank and dispute a transaction. And there's many valid, sort of really legitimate reasons for asking for a chargeback of a transaction. So for example, if the goods that was advertised, they don't believe it is what they got. Or alternatively, it could genuinely be a fraud where a card was, or a purchase has been made on a stolen card or a lost card, or a card that's been cloned potentially. So what happens is, the cardholder genuinely goes into the bank, they dispute the transaction of the purchase that's made on their card, and then the bank basically, in a nutshell, will debit the cardholder, or debit the merchant and credit the cardholder the funds. But it's not only this process that is time consuming and a lot of work for the merchant themselves. It obviously is the cost of that. So you're not only seeing the cost of the chargeback itself, but the merchant will then incur costs of the original delivery, the original cost potentially of the product, the time and the effort that it goes into having to dispute this kind of process. So the merchant does have a choice. They can dispute the process. So they can say, this chargeback is invalid and this is my reason why. But obviously you lose a lot of time, a lot of effort where you should be selling or building your business. You're spending a lot of time managing disputes. So there's different things that we would recommend that a merchant would do. I think the first one is that the business processes should be very clear to a cardholder. So when I buy from you, it needs to be very clear. What am I buying? What does it look like? Really good description. So when I get it, I'm not disappointed as a cardholder. You said I'm getting X and I get X. So the chances of me disputing this product being what you said it was is very unlikely. So good descriptions, good products. The other one would be great service. So if I'm giving you fantastic service and you're not happy, you're ultimately going to come back and go, I'm not really happy with the service that you've given me, and I'm not really happy with this product and help me out. So that would be another one. And then definitely having a very clear process online in terms of refunds. If you want to send something back, if you want to return something, if you want to claim, what is that process that I as a cardholder would follow with you as a merchant? So if that's very clear, there's no merchant that's going to go, oh, I'm confused, I'm going to run to the bank and just dispute against you. So you make it easy for the cardholder to be accessible to you. Make it easy for him to come back and say, help me, this isn't what I bought, or I'm not happy, or, oh, there's been fraud on my account, before they go to a bank. So I think also what we suggest from Peach side is to avoid the cardholder going straight to the bank and rather coming to you is really good communication. So if you're getting a message from me saying, I've got your order's in processing, your order's been dispatched, it's been delivered, hey, are you happy? That kind of communication says, I'm here as a merchant, I have a business, I'm interested in you, and did you get your product and are you happy? That way the communication is really good, builds up a good rapport with your customer, and your customer's not first going to go to the bank. They're going to come back to you and go, hey, I'm really not happy. So I think that's really another one. The other one, it shows that obviously you're committed to the customer. The other one would be a good internal process. So be prepared for this kind of thing, So if you have a number of chargebacks, you almost want to have a process in place that says these are the things that we have in case anything is disputed. Here's my documentation. Here's what I have. Because a number of chargebacks, many merchants don't know, can actually result in their merchant account being closed by a bank. So you don't want to find yourself in that position and then go, oh, I should have done something. So being prepared for chargebacks means that you would spend then a minimal amount of time when a chargeback does come in having to run around and find supporting documents. So have a really good process. Keep your proof of delivery, keep your invoices and your correspondence with your merchants in just a simple process, but something that can already be in place that you aren't finding yourself lost at the time if there is a dispute. And then in terms of something that we can recommend as Peach Payments, obviously, is keeping the delivery notes and then keeping if you follow a general process would be the receipt or the invoice, a delivery note to say this is where I delivered to, proof that someone actually signed for it or received the goods and services, so we can't have that dispute later. And then most importantly would also be proof of 3D secure transactions. So if that's not something they have, it's something that we as Peach would have for them, but there's also a responsibility to put transactions through 3D secure, because then you're covered as well when it comes to potentially fraud chargebacks. Mm-hmm. And I'm just babbling on. Can I carry on? You're good, Dom? Okay, great. So general awareness is also great from a business perspective. So we don't always want to assume that every transaction is legitimate, even though it may be, things are great and things are running through cards and, everybody's happy. I think generally, if you know your business, you also know when something looks irregular, an irregularly large transaction, or something that's irregular for your business. So if you know that you normally sell X amount per day and all of a sudden you're selling 10 times of that, or the transaction value is 10 times the normal transaction value, it should spark just a little something to say, go and have a look. Let's look a little bit closer at that transaction, or reach out to Peach and say, guys, do you mind having a second look at this and help us? So the old saying, prevention is better than cure. I think if you've got all of that up front and you have sort of a rigorous process where you can sort of identify something funny and raise a flag, you prevent all that later stuff, having to do all the paperwork, and it's knowing that what it costs you. So it's not only the product, it's the time, it's your staff, it's the delivery cost, all that effort when you could be using that more productively elsewhere. And then obviously lastly is to use a provider that obviously offers you a secure service and offers you the ability to sort of customize or have the best sort of either fraud prevention tools or identification tools that can be applied depending on your business. And I think on Peach side, it's something that we really pride ourselves in. We really want to help our merchants when it comes to this. We want to help them prevent this and not necessarily have it happen and then sort of help them get there. We explore really rigorous processes with our merchants and options that they have. And I think we're open to supporting them when it comes to that, whether it is it's a new merchant, a merchant that's been with us forever, business models change, we need to relook at risk prevention. So yeah, I think that's, I want to say in a nutshell, in a mouthful, how we can help.
Thanks, Nadine. Those are all really important. I want to focus a bit more on the issue of security and specifically talk about online fraud. Can you explain what it is and how businesses and consumers can avoid it?
Sure, Prom. So I think we'll start with what it is, and we get what we refer to as friendly fraud and non-friendly fraud. So in the case of friendly fraud, what is interesting is that in the last couple of years, we have found that 50% of people that perpetrate what we call friendly fraud would do so again within the 2 months following the original a friendly fraud, if you want to call it that. So it's a chargeback. And what it is many times a cardholder doesn't even know the impact of what they're doing, where they will go and charge back or go to their bank and request a chargeback on a specific purchase that has been made on their account. So sometimes these can be legitimate. I didn't get the goods, or the goods weren't as they were described in your brochures, or when I bought it online, it wasn't what the description said it was. And then you get the genuine sort of legitimate, my card has been stolen or cloned or whatever the case may be, and purchase have been made with the specific card online. So from Peach perspective, we obviously pride ourselves in supporting cardholders and supporting merchants, and it is part of our responsibility as well to try and prevent this as far as possible and to identify this. So what we do is we will also recommend to businesses that they have a really good and rigorous internal process to try and identify fraud. So a couple of tips, things they can look out for would ideally be irregular type transactions. So we do have merchants that contact us and will say, my regular purchase is 500 Rand and today I've had something for 10,000. So something like that should spark a thought or an investigation from an internal perspective. That's not regular for my industry or my business, and what am I seeing as a transaction? So if an internal process is there, identifying what is regular for the business or what stands out potentially as irregular, we ask then that the merchant raise a hand and a flag and sort of give us an indication, and we can help them as well. It saves them in the long run. Prevention is better than cure. So we would want to help merchants put something in place to identify a prevention flow that can help them identify online fraud, rather than have to deal with the repercussions later of all the time they have to spend on paperwork and documentation and time and effort that just goes into having to dispute something or having to deal with online fraud.
Thanks, Nadine. I really see how important it is for businesses to really understand this. And my last question today relates to reputation management and how to respond to online complaints about your business. Can you explain why it's important for businesses to be proactive when it comes to customer complaints?
My recommendation to a merchant when dealing with the complaints is, if you've gone through the process of keeping your customer informed and you're open to them and clear in terms of the refund process, in terms of the returns process, you should then have a process to deal with not only disputes but complaints. So have an open channel, whether it be via phone or via email, whereby a customer can easily gain access to you and have prompt response in terms of whatever their complaint may be. So the key here is that you want to avoid a merchant either going to a bank and having to deal with the bank through, as a result of the complaint, or alternatively going to social media to have to deal with the complaint. If your process is clear, the merchant then follows that. But the cardholder would then follow that process. But what's key is that internally you have a process to deal with that. So it must be clear to everybody that should we receive a complaint, what process do we then follow? So acknowledgement of the complaint is usually a good first step. making sure that the customer knows that you're aware of what their problem is. Obviously, being sympathetic to the problem, but making sure that you understand what their expectations are. So the customer may be complaining about a specific product, and all they want is to get a replacement product, but they don't necessarily make themselves clear. So you could spend a hell of a lot of time running around trying to give them a refund or try to give them an alternative where all they would want is a replacement product. So key for me is understanding what the customer's expectation is, and then obviously trying to match that as far as possible. When it comes to disputes, obviously it's exactly the same, is understanding what the customer's expectation is. However, if the dispute has already occurred and the customer has already gone through the bank, we recommend a similar process. So if a dispute does reach you, nothing stops you making contact with a customer and seeing whether the dispute can be resolved without having to go through the bank. So very often the customer can withdraw the dispute, and it can be resolved in-house or directly with the customer, not having to have the bank process involved, because you don't necessarily want those disputes processed against you as a merchant. Hope that helps.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Nadine. It was great speaking with you, and I'm sure our viewers found great value in your answers and responses. Okay, cool. Thanks. Until next time.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Prom. Chat soon.
Bye.